Adema is a rock band from Bakersfield, California, that formed in 2000 with members lead vocalist Mark Chavez, vocalist guitarist Tim Fluckey, guitarist Mike Ransom, bassist Dave DeRoo, and drummer Kris Kohls. After their first two albums, Adema and Unstable, the band was plagued with years of conflict and lineup changes. Ransom left the band in 2003 due to conflicts with Chavez, followed by Chavez later in 2004 due to conflicts with the rest of the band. Luke Caraccioli replaced Chavez in early 2005 for one album, Planets, but then left a few months later in late 2005. Vocalist Bobby Reeves and guitarist Ed Farris, both from the band level, were recruited to join as well, but only released one album, Kill the Headlights, in 2007, before entering a hiatus. The band's original lineup performed in late 2009 and toured, but both Ransom and Chavez left again before any new music would be recorded. Since 2011, Fluckey took over lead vocals, and the band recruited the Mentors member Marc DeLeon to replace Ransom. The lineup released an EP, Topple the Giants, in 2013, with DeLeon leaving shortly afterwards due to Ransom's return to the band. History = 2000 Euro 2002, formation and self-titled release = before Adema, lead vocalist Mark Chavez, half-brother of Korn's lead vocalist, Jonathan Davis, formerly played guitar BPD, guitarist Tim Fluckey formerly played with Juice along with bassist Dave DeRoo, who previously played with Sigsart along with Orgy guitarist Ryan Shuck and Jonathan Davis, guitarist Mike Ransom formerly played saxophone of ska band Mento Baru, and drummer Kris Kohls formerly played with Cradle of Thorns. The band's eponymous debut album, Adema, was released in August 2001 to moderate success. Its two major singles, Giving In, and The Way You Like It, received significant airplay on rock radio. All the lyrics were written by Chavez, and the album was produced by Bill Appleberry and Toby Miller. It was certified gold, and the band received a spot on the main stage during the Ozzfest tour. They kept playing Live with the Music as a Weapon, Snowcore Rock, and Project Revolution tours. In 2002, Adema released Insomniac's Dream, an EP, as a gift to fans. The single from the album, Immortal, was written for the video game Mortal Kombat: Deadly Alliance. Besides the single, it included a track from international versions of Adema, a cover to Alice in Chains' Nutshell, and 4 remix versions of songs from Adema. 2002 also marked Adema's inclusion in the Resident Evil soundtrack, contributing the track Everyone from their debut album. = 2003 Euro 2004, Unstable and lineup changes = Adema's second album, Unstable, was released by Arista in August 2003. It was produced by Howard Benson, whose credits also include producing albums with P.O.D., Who, Stank and Cold. The band has vigorously fought the label nu metal, preferring to be classified as traditional rock. While Unstable was not a significant break from their earlier sound, Chavez compared it to the rawness of Nirvana, and bassist DeRoo hoped that Chavez's stronger voice would result in a more mainstream sound. "We don't go on stage and nu metal," said drummer Kohls. "We're sick of that phrase. Rock it's such a broad word that it doesn't categorize you." As it turned out, the album was named Unstable for a reason. Chavez and guitarist Ransom had a bitter rivalry that ended when first Ransom, then Chavez, left the band. The rest of the band has blamed Chavez for personal problems that held the band back musically, but Chavez claimed that it was differences in the direction of the music. The feud with Ransom put the rest of the band in the middle. While DeRoo wouldn't comment specifically on what the supposed problems were, he insinuated that Chavez was caught up in drugs. During 2003, when the band released and toured for Unstable, Chavez and Ransom didn't speak to one another. The band claimed that the split was no surprise. Ransom left in December, while the remaining 4 members finished touring. Amidst this conflict, Unstable sold over 66% less than the band's debut album. In December, the band learned that Arista was dropping them during a label merger. A large number of Arista's staff was fired in a management shake-up by its parent company, Sony. L.A. Reid, who originally signed the band, had left the label a week earlier. The band has blamed low sales of Unstable on being dropped. The band continued to write, but in February 2004, Chavez started to lose interest. He quit the band in September. While the remaining three members remained on good terms with Ransom, their attitude towards Chavez was much less favorable. With regards to the split with Adema, Adema blamed the split on Chavez's disinterest in the band. However, Chavez acknowledged personal problems and claimed that it takes two to tango, and that his decision precipitated from an argument with drummer Kohls over the direction of the band. Chavez would form the band Midnight Panic with his cousin and old bandmates Cesario Garza and Mike Montano, which released the self-titled Midnight Panic EP before dissolving. 2004 2005, Planets with Sam and Paul. The remaining three Adema members regrouped to write new music and auditioned for a new lead singer. After Kohls heard a demo from Rewind Yesterday, another Bakersfield band, he was impressed by the group's lead singer, Sam and Paul. Adema asked Paul to front the band. Sam and Paul accepted a few months later in January 2005. Adema signed to metal label Earache Records in spring 2004 when its manager, Al Dawson, heard them at a show. Under their new label, the band gained more control over their direction than they had when signed with Arista. Adema lauded Earache for allowing bands to express themselves creatively. On April 5, 2005, the band would deliver their next album, Planets, produced by Nick Fosillo. They released the album's first single, Tornado, back on February 18, 2005. Planets, as an album, was musically a significant break from Adema's two earlier albums. It was much closer to rock than Adema's nu metal history. Kohls said that the band relied on influences from classic rock, and that the band proved that they were so much more than a nu metal band. The writing for the album was shared between the four members, with Tim recording all of the guitar portions of the album. As a former Marine, Caraccioli played his first show with Adema in the Persian Gulf in April 2005. They performed for American troops stationed in Iraq, Afghanistan, Kuwait and the United Arab Emirates for the Armed Forces Entertainment. Though the Iraq War was still raging, the band stressed that the tour was apolitical. Adema then promoted the release by touring with Brides of Destruction, a band that Kohls had briefly been involved in. Though proud of their identity change, the band noted that they had a mixture of fans from both the old and new Adema at live shows. In September of that year, the band released a second single from the album, Planets. The music video for the single was featured in the film, Cry Wolf. In October 2005, after only 10 months, Luke Caraccioli left the band, citing personal reasons. Following his departure, the band got in touch with Mark Chavez, and according to the band, both parties were back on good terms. Both parties even had talks about Chavez singing for Adema again and even wrote some new songs together. Nothing transpired from these events until August 2009. 2006 2008, Kill the Headlights with Bobby Reeves and Hiatus. In March 2006, Adema announced a new vocalist, Bobby Reeves, a former member of the band Level. In August, the band recruited guitarist Ed Farris, also a former member of Level. With their new lineup, the band signed on to Immortal Records in February 2007. They released Kill the Headlights, produced by Marshall Altman, in August 2007. The first single, Cold and Jaded, was released in July. In early 2008, Dave DeRoo announced the band has decided to go on a hiatus to regroup, take a break, and assured fans they have not broken up. 2009 2011, reunion and departure of original lineup. On August 13, 2009, Mark Chavez posted a blog on his official MySpace page stating that he has returned to Adema. He also plans for the band to write an album and begin touring before the release of said album. The blog read, "It was later confirmed that both Mark Chavez and original guitarist Mike Ransom were back in the band." A second blog from the band's MySpace stated that both Bobby Reeves and Ed Farris had agreed to leave the band and that this was the right thing to do for Adema and their fans. The blog went on to say, "This sure won't be the last you see of Bobby or Ed, and we want to take the time to thank them for their service in the line of duty." Adema announced on their official Twitter page that the first rehearsal with the original lineup in 6 years took place November 15, 2009. The original members of Adema played their first show together in over 5 years on January 14, 2010, at Whiskey A Go Go in West Hollywood. A full 2010 tour list across the United States has also been posted on the band's MySpace and Facebook page, and new material was announced to be released around February 2011. The band went on their 2010 tour. However, Mike Ransom was unable to join them due to his commitments with recording an album with his band, Black Heart Vacancy. He left once again in November. Mark Chavez abruptly left Adema once again before the start of the 2011 tour to pursue his solo project. Guitarist Tim Fluckey and bassist Dave DeRoo have since taken over vocal duties. The reason behind Chavez's departure was that he had another conflict with the band. Chavez brought his family with him to the 2010 tour, which caused problems with the band. The band didn't want him to bring them to the 2011 tour. The band threatened to do the tour without him, however at the last minute, the band agreed for Chavez to bring his family, but he made a decision to quit. In January 2011, bassist Dave DeRoo was arrested just prior to performing a concert in Connecticut, and was charged with being a fugitive of the law. A warrant for his arrest was issued in July 2010 for violating his probation issued from a prior DUI incident in November 2008. DeRoo's bond was set at $1 million. Being contractually obligated to fulfill their already scheduled 2011 tour dates, Tim Fluckey, Kris Kohls and touring fill-in and the Mentors lead vocalist and drummer Marc DeLeon expect to perform as Adema in the absence of DeRoo. 2011 Euro 2013, Topple the Giants with Marc DeLeon. Upon the return of Dave DeRoo, it was announced that touring bassist and the Mentors lead vocalist and drummer Marc DeLeon would become an official guitarist for the band, replacing Mike Ransom. On their official Facebook page, the band announced on July 19, 2011, "We're going in the studio this week. New music coming soon." Since then they have also announced a new EP, Topple the Giants, available for download in February 2012 along with a special edition disc in March. This will include new songs along with old songs re-recorded with the current lineup. A full-length album was announced to be released later in summer 2012. However, on May 22, 2012, they announced that their new EP that was slated for release on all digital formats today has been delayed until further notice. After finally signing a deal with Pavement Entertainment in early 2013, the band has announced they will be releasing Topple the Giants on the release date of April 2, 2013. 2013 a Euro present, Mike Ransom's second return. On September 13, 2013, it was announced by Dave DeRoo that Mike Ransom has returned to the band once again, with Marc DeLeon agreeing to leave the band. Band members: current, Tim Fluckey, a Euro guitar, lead vocals, Mike Ransom, a Euro guitar, backing vocals, Dave DeRoo, a Euro bass, backing vocals, Kris Kohls, a Euro drums, former, Mark Chavez, a Euro lead vocals, Luke Caraccioli, a Euro lead vocals, Bobby Reeves, a Euro lead vocals, Ed Farris, a Euro guitars, synthesizers, Marc DeLeon, a Euro guitars, backing vocals. Timeline. Discography. Studio albums: Adema, Unstable, Planets, Kill the Headlights. References. External links: Adema on Facebook, Adema's channel on YouTube.